Hello everyone, good evening. It's lovely weather today and I have been fortunate enough to enjoy it because my car has ceased to function. Until I have it repaired, I'm enjoying the brisk exercise of walking around town. Now, I should mention that currently I am wearing something like this. I don't know if you can see. So, in many ways, I look a little derelict today. A little derelict, and people have, I suspect, believed that I am homeless. I am in a city that is relatively wealthy, and I have been homeless before, and I know what it is like in many ways. But I wish to share to you the experiences of someone not who is homeless, not someone who is struggling with bitter poverty, but just inconvenienced by the mere fact that they have lost access to their vehicle for a brief period of time. When I began my journeys just to do groceries, I had to walk everywhere and I had to take the bus. Online, the bus schedule told me that I could take the bus at this time and take the bus at that time, and I called the bus to make sure that this was the case. And it was. I took the bus, and I took the bus to do some groceries, and I did my groceries, and as you see, the cart was similar to this. And now it was late in the evening, and there were a few buses left that could come, and I verified over the phone that they were coming. And I waited at the appropriate bus stop for 1 hour. People came. They came, were disgruntled, said their curses and left. And each time I called and I asked what happened to the bus. And they said that the bus came, but that there was no one at the station. I was at the station and I informed them. And they said, no, you weren't. The buses did not come, and this is a common occurrence, and I have interviewed several of my interlocutors at the bus station, and they said the same thing. This represents a systemic abuse of people who may struggle with mobility issues, with sight issues, with hearing issues. Surely, there must be a better solution to these things. Why is it that the website does not say the buses are not running? Why can they not simply update their website and inform people that the buses will not continue running this day? People depend upon the buses for their transportation. And as they do so, the difficult part comes in because when I was walking, I went to get some water. You know, when you are walking for 6 hours through the snow with a baggage like the one that I am carrying, you get thirsty. And I would go into buildings and ask them if I could have a glass of water. And many obliged me. I was at the vitrine, the window of an expensive restaurant where people were wearing suits and ties. And at this restaurant there was a menu. The menu said that there were pork chops that were 45 cents for a portion. $45 for a portion. And I stood at this window reviewing the menu. And as I did so, all of the customers who were by the window were staring at me, pointing at me, and I assume complaining to the workers there. Now, some of the workers came out and asked me, "Can I get you something to go?" Because they probably wanted me to go. And I thanked them, and I asked them for some water, and they so generously obliged. That was very kind of them. They were good Samaritans. I then went to a store where I purchased a plum pudding. I purchased a plum pudding with my food stamps, with my EBT. And at this place where I purchased a plum pudding, the manager of the store was called because I picked up a product, the Blum pudding, that did not have a food price on it, that did not have a price on it. And the manager said out loud, "Oh, this is either $3 or $4. Somewhere either, I'm thinking $3.50, maybe $4, $3.50, $4, or $3. Okay, he's paying with food stamps. He doesn't need it either. So $3. He didn't need to. So $4. So because I was paying with food stamps, and this gentleman arrived at the conclusion that I do not need this scrumptious sweet, this snack, he decided to make me pay the 50 cents extra. And it's no big deal, it's just 50 cents, but he could have done so without informing me as to the motivations driving his decisions. Don't you think? It is interesting how, when I walk around with my carriage and my mode of garb, people at restaurants do not ask me if I'm dining or if I'd like a seat. They ask me if I am going to get something to go. Now, granted, they may also be assuming that I cannot sit with my cart with me, but I find it an interesting observation, how people's impression suddenly changes when they perceive you as being of impoverished means. The purposes of this video is just to elucidate some of the class struggles that are present in everyday life. It would have not cost them a dime to inform everyone that the buses were not running, and then therefore many people's hours and time spent that they could have been at work could have been used more fruitfully. That is beautiful decoration. Could have been used more fruitfully, I believe. Those people who waited for the bus, who went to the bus, who then probably spent many hours walking home as I did, could have spent that time working or cooking or sleeping or taking care of their hungry children. What do you think? What kind of changes do you think could be made in order to ensure greater prosperity in our beautiful country? And thanks to the generosity of the restaurants that provided me with ample water that I may sate my thirst on the way home, on the 6-hour walk home, I had to do as most people need to do. And because of this, I wondered to myself, if I did so publicly in the snow, the police would surely be alerted, and I would be possibly imprisoned for this offense. Well, maybe not imprisoned. Perhaps I would suffer. I would suffer because of it, surely. What fault have I for this? For I am but a mere man. I am a human being, a creature. I have done no wrong by doing so. I am not presenting the appearance of evil. I am simply doing what I must do in order to survive. It is a bodily function like all others. What right does our society have to take it away from me? But then the police would have come. So thinking of this, I had the brilliant idea to call the police and inform them that I have been waiting for the buses for several hours and they have not arrived, and the schedule online has unfortunately been of great fault. But I said so politely, hopefully, I hope. And that my mother is waiting for me at home and requires her food, requires water, requires her medications and what have you, that I am bringing to her. And that I have many things with me, and that it has freshly snowed. It was much worse than this yesterday. The snow has melted. And that I needed some way to come home. And they screamed, "We are not a taxi service," and hung up on me. And I wonder, do not my taxes pay for their employment? What gives them the right to raise their voice and scream at a person requesting assistance in the bitter cold, in the bitter wild of survival? It's not the wild, it's not so terrible, but for example, what if I were blind and I missed the bus because they did not update the bus? What would happen if I were blind? Would I not then, despite having employment, despite having a home, would I not then become homeless? I would have no way of returning home. It took me 6 hours to walk home. I would not have been able to find my way. What if I was somehow handicapped and was in a wheelchair? Or if I was in some other kind of difficulty that I could not walk home? I would be homeless despite not being homeless, and that would have been the end of it. I would have roamed the naked wilds the rest of my days. When I was watching the gentlemen eating at this restaurant, where I was scouring their menu, I kept thinking to myself how far away those people would be from being in a similar predicament. Maybe just a paycheck away, maybe their car breaks down, maybe they miss a bus. And also, I thought to myself, I have been fired for being tardy I have been fired for being sick, for being late, for many reasons I have been fired. What, to the degree that it is my fault or not is another issue. But surely if I have been fired for being sick from my place of employment, they would also fire me for missing the bus. So this presents a grave issue for American employment as well. If buses cannot run at expedient and predictable intervals, many people will lose their jobs. Steady employment will become difficult to find. And it is so. It is so. I hope that this message has shown you not what it means to be homeless, not what it means to be on the outskirts of society, not what it means to struggle with poverty, but just a brief inconvenience and how it would affect anyone, how it could affect anyone. Please consider that we are all in this together. Be kind and love your neighbor. Be kind and love yourself. I love you, beautiful creatures. I love you, beautiful breaths of God. Please take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Be well. Thank you for watching.